The internet is a strange and wonderful place that knows somehow that I was just in Poland last month and is now peppering me with clips from Schindler's List, which is actually good because I wasn't really sure what to tackle in terms of videos from my trip. And so, based on those recommendations, let me make these comments. I opted, because I'm a cheapskate, to stay on the opposite side of the river from the old downtown of Krakow, between Krakow and Plaszow, the work camp just to the south of the old Jewish ghetto. It just so happens that the train station or train stop there, um, the Schindler's factory was directly between the train station I got off at and the place where I was staying. So I was able to walk by it multiple times. I managed to get in my last night there and go through the museum, and I was surprised. Uh, it was worth it for these two major reasons. Number one, it's not just about him and his factory, which is good because for those who don't have a lot of context about what happened in Poland or the circumstances, like why was Schindler there? Why did they pick him? Why didn't he leave? You can get the answers to all of those questions and more. The museum isn't just about him, it's really about the plight of Jews in Poland from the beginning of the rise of Adolf Hitler until after the camps were liberated when the Russians came through. So it covers a great deal of territory, really, much beyond what the factory covers. You get to go through his office, you get to see some of the things that they made, and learn about the transition from cookware. Because I always wondered, um, what the German words were that he made. uh, Enamelwaren, which is cookware, to airplane parts. The second reason it was worth it is because I learned things about Schindler and his factory that they don't talk about in the movies. There was a movie broadcast there. I didn't watch the whole thing because the museum was closing and I wanted to make sure I got to see other things where they were interviewing individuals who had worked there, predominantly Poles, but also a few of the surviving Jews who had worked in the Schindler's factory, and they didn't pull any punches. They talked openly and freely about the fact that this was no picnic. This was a very difficult job, dangerous job. People died in his factory, including Jews, and that they were basically doing slave labor for Schindler. Now, that's not a surprise given what we know about the work camps and the Konzentrationslagern of the time, but it's interesting to see that if you read about him in the museum, you watch the video, and you listen to people who knew him, they are not his fans. Now, I'm sure they're grateful, but he was not the patron saint of rescue that he was depicted to be in the Liam Neeson portrayal. Um, it was not about saving Jews, it was about saving money, about saving himself. They were a means to an end. And it's interesting that his workers are the ones who looked out for each other. Now that is a little bit depicted. I haven't seen the movie, but I've seen clips from it. But that is conveyed in the movie itself. But it was interesting to watch some segments of this, listen to individuals who had worked for him who had a totally different picture to paint of the Oskar Schindler than the one presented to us by Hollywood over 25 years ago. Of course, this is normal, that the evil that men do often escapes when we discover something that we can bloviate and make money off of, and it just goes to show that Hollywood is no different than Oskar Schindler in terms of they found a way to make money off of this, just as he found a way to make money off of the prisoners who were transferred to his care. It was a very dangerous job. It was a very dangerous circumstance. Um, and it was interesting to go through Auschwitz-Birkenau, to go to Plaszow, to see the Oskar Schindler Museum and realize that they were too gentle, in my opinion, with Oskar Schindler and not harsh enough with Amon Goeth. Um, but you'll have to go to the museum and decide for yourself. It's not particularly large. I was surprised by how small the factory is. It looked like it was much bigger, but there's an art museum behind it that I thought was part of the factory. Now, it does appear that they did film portions of the movie there, at least the entrance gate, because I recognized it from scenes in the film. But it's very evident that, given the size of the factory, that they did not film it there, and that it's not, uh, or if they did, that it was a different extent at the time than it is now. Um, it was also fairly pricey. In terms of the things that I did, it's one of the more expensive things I saw for the bang for your buck. But I didn't mind spending money in Poland because I didn't mind spending money on things in Poland. I don't have any problems with the Poles themselves. Remember, Oskar Schindler was a Germanic descent living in Poland, or the region we now call Poland, because it had ceased to be Poland sometime earlier. So I recommend it, not maybe for the reasons that you would suppose, but for the information that you will learn about it that has not been presented elsewhere. I'm sure you can get this information elsewhere on the internet, but there were things that I did not know until I got there, and that you really can't wrap your head around as well unless you see it for yourself. Also, I was the biggest thing I was underwhelmed by is that it was not about Schindler. That was just a minor highlight of the tour through his factory. And then, of course, there's all the people trying to capitalize on it. So it was an interesting trip. That was one of the more interesting informational disseminations from the places I decided and was able to get in and see. And I'm grateful I was able to see it, particularly since I walked past it like 4 or 5 times. And if I hadn't gotten to see it, it would have been probably it would have been a shame, not a crime, but it's definitely a shame. Anyway, if you're in Krakow, I recommend it. It has a lot of cool things in it. It's not a you don't need to spend a ton of time there, but if you are there and you get a chance to see it, it is a little bit off the beaten path from the other things. But there are a whole bunch of individuals there who advertise tours to the Schindler factory, tours to the old Jewish quarter, and tours through the ghetto, where they'll show you where it used to be. Of course, all that has been built over now with more modern buildings, except for Plasov, which looks like they're working on it, but haven't really finished much, at least not as of my visit in December of 2023. Anyway, that's my 2 bits for now. Take care, and it's always a good idea to go learn things for yourself. Definitely don't rely on Hollywood to tell you the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. Godspeed.